Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Tuesday, January 13th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, Matt Robinson, your Tuesday crew with you, ready to break down the Tuesday NHL slate. It's a very good one again tonight. We've got 9 games on tap, so actually 10. Excited about breaking those down. We've got lots of storylines going into the games tonight. We'll get to those, obviously, in just a moment. First, we'll look back on a Monday slate that was a winning slate, winning night, profitable. We'll take it. Some interesting results. One of the ones that was disappointing from a betting standpoint, even though it was a good night overall, was the performance of Philadelphia. That was pretty disappointing considering, they lost to Tampa Bay over the weekend, and they lose again 5-1 to the Tampa Bay Lightning last night. It seems like every mistake the Flyers made, the Lightning pounced on it. Johansson was pretty solid in net for the Lightning in victory as well. And the Lightning just keep on rolling. Another victory to keep this great win streak going for the Tampa Bay Lightning. That is now, for them during this great win streak, that is now 10 straight wins, and they've scored 4 more goals in all 10 of those wins. But it wasn't all good news for Tampa Bay last night. The injury to Braden Point, you hate to see that. Plus, he's a member of Team Canada. So what does that mean for his status, at the Winter Olympics in a few weeks? Something to keep an eye on. But obviously, it didn't look good with that injury, and we'll see how much time Braden Point ends up missing for the Tampa Bay Lightning. We did get an update on it, and apparently may not be as bad as we thought. They've got him listed as lower body day-to-day right now at the moment, Tampa Bay. So looks like perhaps they've avoided maybe the worst-case scenario with Braden Point's injury there, but certainly hope he makes a quick recovery there for the Tampa Bay Lightning. A great game with Florida-Buffalo. If you're Buffalo, you lose 4-3, you're going to lose some games eventually. It had to happen. You're still 13-2 in your last 15 games. It was a pretty good effort by the Florida Panthers, though. They did control the flow a little bit more during the balance of that game. Bobrovsky made some good saves late. They were opportunistic with their chances, and Florida gets a 4-3 victory over the Buffalo Sabres. Boy, oh boy, is everything really getting tight and compact in the Atlantic Division right now. I mean, it is just top to bottom, aside from, a few teams near the bottom. I mean, everybody's still alive in that division, and it is as tight as it can get. Like I say, big points on the line every time it's a divisional game like that. But a nice win for Florida there as that road trip concludes for them. Seattle, a shame on the Rangers. I guess they figured after getting blown out by Boston, we'll give you 20 good minutes after a game like that. That's it. 20 good minutes. That's all we're going to give you tonight. And they did play great in the first 20 minutes and get up 2-0, but did not hold the lead. Seattle responds for 4 unanswered goals to beat the New York Rangers 4-2 in that game last night. I kind of hinted at it, saying that if you like the Rangers, maybe just take them early. And boy, that is definitely the way you should have bet them if you did, as you can't trust them right now at the moment to hold a lead. It's another tough night for Jonathan Quick. Seems like him giving up 4 goals is a routine occurrence these days. And Seattle gets a nice 4-2 win there over the struggling New York Rangers. Sergei Fedorov, retirement night there in Detroit. Really great ceremony for a great hockey player, great career, great man off the ice as well. Great ceremony before the game for the great Sergei Fedorov as his jersey is retired before the start of that game last night. And Detroit came out storming early in that game, got the big lead. Carolina, though, didn't go away, down 3-0, 3 unanswered goals, 3-3 to force overtime. And then Detroit wins it in overtime. And look, as someone that had Detroit money line, I was happy. I had already cashed the team total because that was over 2.5. But that's a terrible missed call in overtime. That was a blatant cross-check right in front of the net. Detroit should have been penalized right before that goal was scored. It's a horrible miss in that situation. And if I'm Rod Brind'Amour in Carolina, I'm justifiably angry and upset about that. But what are you going to do? Missed call. And at the end of the day, Detroit gets a 4-3 overtime win. But that was a terrible missed call. Awful. And I have no problem saying that. No bias here. Did I benefit from it? Absolutely, but that's terrible. You can't miss that. It's an absolute cross-check there that was not called there in overtime. But tough way to lose for Carolina, but Detroit wins, and the woes of Freddie Anderson continue, as he loses another game, gives up 4 goals. Like I said, that Anaheim win for him was an anomaly because he only faced 13 shots. I did not buy that being a turnaround for him, and it showed. Montreal, they thumped Vancouver 6-3. This was about as easy as it gets with the over by Fecta, which was one of Perlo's best bets on the show yesterday was the full game over. Easily cashed that. Montreal explodes for 6 goals. Vancouver back to defensive struggles again. Nikita Tolopilo was not the answer in net last night for the Canucks in that game. But Montreal with a nice 6-3 victory. Vancouver back in action tonight. We'll get to that in a bit when they take on Ottawa. A terrible game for Minnesota. Awful, really. I mean, the 5-2 New Jersey. Give the Devils credit. They needed a win desperately. They got it. It's been a rough go for New Jersey. But 5-2 looked flat, looked a little bit listless last night, the Minnesota Wild. But you give the Devils credit for a good, solid performance. 5-2 victory there over the Minnesota Wild, much needed. You know what's funny is Minnesota, coming off the long road trip, they played their guts out and played a hell of a game against the Islanders. Should have won, but lost. Last night was how I thought they would look coming off the road trip. It took until last night for them to look that way against New Jersey. So maybe it was just an extra game it took for them to really feel the effects of coming back from that lengthy road trip. But they were not good last night. Edmonton, they were good last night. They got a 4-1 win against Chicago. Of course, breaking news right before the game was Connor Bedard, the latest to fall victim to the flu running through the team, the stomach virus. So he did not play last night for the Blackhawks at the last minute. And certainly, as always, Chicago missing him. But Edmonton with a 4-1 victory there over the Chicago Blackhawks in that game. I'll say this, Connor Ingram was solid, believe it or not, last night. Pretty solid effort from him in net. But Edmonton with a 4-1 road win there in that game. The Dallas Stars, I'll tell you what, this is about one of the uglier wins a team will get. They didn't play great, far from it. But a win is a win, and Dallas beats LA 3-1. And we do cash all the bets we had with Dallas. We had first goal, first period. We had first period money line, and we did have the full game, which was my best bet on the show. And like I said, it was great to see for the Dallas Stars getting the victory there, 3-1 over the LA Kings. They didn't play great, but they were opportunistic. Even though the shot advantage was toward the Kings, it was a situation where Dallas was able to make the most of their chances and get that 3-1 win. And then just an outstanding game between the Leafs and the Avs. The pace was off the charts. It was back and forth all night. And the Leafs went toe-to-toe with this Avs team in their building, which was so impressive. I hinted at it yesterday. I just felt in my gut the Leafs were live. They were going to give that game. They were going to give the Avs a go last night. And I did take the plus 1.5 puck line with Toronto, and I just sprinkled so small on the money line. I wish I'd maybe had a little more confidence they could actually win the game. But we are talking about a team that was on a fucking 17-game home winning streak going into last night. But credit to the Leafs. What a performance. And William Nylander with the overtime winner to beat the Colorado Avalanche 4-3. They were up around plus 200 on the money line last night, Toronto, in that game. A great win for them as they continue to play great hockey. They're now in the number 1 wild card spot in the Eastern Conference. And they were near the bottom of the division and conference about a month ago. So amazing what a difference a month makes for the Leafs. And they played a great game. Like, they were just toe-to-toe with Colorado. Full marks for them for that victory. Joel Woll was strong in net, and you have to be when you're playing Colorado. And a great win for the Leafs. But how do they follow that up? A win like that, back-to-back in altitude. We'll get to that later when they take on the Utah Mammoth. Alex, your thoughts on Monday night? Good to have you back.
Yeah. It's an interesting slate of games. And like you said, there was a lot of clunkers. And some teams were able to pull it out, like Dallas. I was fortunate to cash a money line ticket with that. And that's, you don't have a problem seeing Dallas getting a victory like that. A lot of times when we see Dallas get wins, it's oftentimes where they're playing well, everything looks good, it's a 4-2, 5-2 victory. You're going to have to win some gritty games like that, especially in the second half of the season, and especially in the playoffs. And yeah, you hate to have to do that against a bad team like LA, a middling team like LA, but to get a win like that in a tough game, in a tough spot nonetheless, that's important to have. Then you have teams like the Wild, like I said, last night looked like like I said, that should have been the effort they give on a flat spot coming off of the road, not after you had a tough game at home and they're playing down to another team. And this is once again another home loss for the Wild against a team that you're supposed to beat, regardless of spot. In my opinion, I think the Wild are a much better team than New Jersey, but it did not look like that at all last night on the ice. Hawks game. Like I said, disappointing to hear that Bedard getting sick right before warm ups, and you could tell that once again it's another night where without 98 the rest of that offense just kind of sputtered. They had chances early, like I said, Ingram did make some key saves in the first period and a half, but then it just seemed like Hawks just ran out of steam. And you could kind of expect that. And that's something to see if we have any more of these teams that end up having a stomach bug or a virus, and you have 4, 5, 6 guys out. Not necessarily it's going to be just because they're back in the lineup, they have their legs back within them. That they may look like a team that's been getting off the road late in some of these contests until everybody's fully healthy. So that kind of seemed to be been the case last night with that game. And disappointing push for Tampa and Philly. I had that over 6. Like I said, disappointing spot for Philly. Wish they could have chipped in with at least a few more goals than that. But another big win for Tampa Bay. And like I said, I just wonder when is this train going to stop. It's funny. We talked about it when Buffalo had their streak rolling, even when the Avs had their streak at one point. You could bet on when the streak would end. I have not seen that market up yet at FanDuel, so it kind of lets you know that they're still giving them some respect, and this streak might continue to go on. We're going to talk about them playing again tonight here against Pittsburgh.
By the way, the system gets triggered last night for Philadelphia. They scored 1 goal and they lost. So you know what that means. 1 goal or fewer. The next game, Philly is 9-1 to the over this season.
Yep.
Games after they score 1 goal or less, they are 9-1 to the over. And they play tomorrow night against Buffalo, by the way. So we'll definitely get into that. But that angle's in play tomorrow night with Flyers and Sabres. Matt, your thoughts on last night?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Flyers Sabres. I was just looking before the show. They're actually 10-0 to 6 or more goals over their last 10 meetings. So looking ahead, that's
history
over
too,
I like.
correct. Yep.
Yeah. So 8 of the 10 have gotten over 6, so at least 7 or more. But all 10 of them have gotten to 6, which you can find 6s out there right now. So as a look ahead spot, but to get into Monday's card. Pretty normal Monday, even though there was 9 games. I didn't watch a ton of hockey. I had a game last night, so watched a little bit of the early slate. Obviously, a lot of goals and games. The 2 plays I had in the early slate on WSP, wizardsportspicks.com, was the Hughes brother over. That game was actually only a 5.5, just given how New Jersey's been playing. So it was nice to see, that 5-2 game. And then I also was able to jump on Lightning Flyers on Sunday night at 5.5 as well. So barely got that one, just tipped over. I know, I think I saw that going into the game, the over was 6.5. So if anyone was on that, obviously it's an L. But nice to see those come through. And then I basically was kind of following along the Stars Kings game, and then kind of keeping tabs on the Avs Leafs game, which I wish I had 2 TVs because it sounds like that Toronto Colorado game was really a good back and forth game, a lot of action, OT. So good to see Toronto get it done. Obviously, never really cheering for the Avs. I don't think that's a Stars fan thing at this point. I think the whole league is happy to see the Colorado, take an L or 2 here and there. I mean, unless you just want to see them break the record or something like that. I think everyone's kind of against Colorado right now. But and then you mentioned the Stars game. We talked a little before the show. It was kind of a crazy third, kind of a low and slow game all game. Dallas fortunate to get that goal early in the first to kind of take the lead. They take the 2 penalties. LA scores and ties it. Rantanen scores, called back for offsides. It honestly to me felt like a spot Dallas was going to lose, because a lot of times when you get that late goal to take the lead and then it's pulled off the board, it can be deflating for teams. So good to see Robo score. I saw he had a lot of family and friends in the building. So I think he mentioned they hadn't beat the Kings in LA in a couple seasons. He hadn't scored a goal in SoCal in a couple seasons. So while it wasn't a laser or anything like that, it was actually similar, kind of similar to Rantanen's goal, just completely different shot. Rantanen ripped it, and Robo sort of had a a puck with eyes shot that maybe shouldn't have gone in, but did. So, and then obviously Duchesne getting that empty net, which was nice to see after Steele misses the empty net from the blue line. And I just felt that LA was going to tie it up and win in overtime after Steele misses the empty net and hits the post. So, good to see. I mean, Dallas has been pretty below average lately, so wins are wins right now. I think if they can continue their streak on the back-to-backs that they've been this year and win tonight, it kind of, between the Washington win, it kind of eliminates a couple of the recent losses. You had a couple good road wins, so we'll see how tonight goes. But yeah, overall profitable night for sure. We had a lot of overs that cashed. There was only a couple games that didn't see the over, including the Stars game in that Oilers Blackhawks game. But a lot of goals for a Monday night, so that was good to see. And looking forward to this 10-game Tuesday card.
And last but not least, before we get to this Tuesday card, yeah, you were out work trip in San Diego. How was that? How was the time out there?
It was good. It was good. Obviously, San Diego is a great city, so it was nice getting out of the cold a little bit. Wasn't super great weather down there. They were going through some off and on rain, which is pretty unusual for San Diego, but it was still mid 60s, little overcast, some sun would creep out. So for January, it was awesome, grabbing a couple beers on the beach and stuff like that. So, and then Monday, Tuesday was more work related stuff, but it went well. So, good trip. Good to be back. I've got a busy next 4 weeks. We've got a couple road trips with the Ice Raiders. I got one more work trip coming up, but shouldn't really affect any Tuesday shows. I might miss a Friday here and there, but yeah, starting mid-February for the end of season NHL playoff push, I should be home more often than not. So that'll be nice.
Yeah, no doubt. Always good. Always good when you can stay close to home and the travel starts to dissipate. Yeah, there were a lot of shenanigans, by the way, with Matt's Reno Ice Raiders and their games over the weekend. That was pretty wild to see that. My goodness. If you like old school hockey and line brawls and fights and some dirty play, not that we like that, not that we condone that, but like I said, it had all of it. And Matt survived to tell about it.
Yeah, no injuries, few goals, so did take that cross-checking penalty that I sent your way, but there was obviously a lot of backstory to that one, so it was well deserved.
Yeah, it was.
Our coach Tim Tukey, who's a longtime AHL player, I think he's top 5
briefly in the NHL.
Points.
He got, I think, a couple games in the NHL too. Yep.
He played some games with Gretzky in LA. So, but yeah, usually he's pretty big on dumb penalties. Usually cost you a few shifts. Maybe get skipped over. But after that one, given how that kid played all weekend, he was just just score a goal next shift and we'll be happy. And I was able to score, and my line mate scored same shift, so a 2-goal shift. And so I came back and was like, all right, are we good? He goes, yeah, I think we're even. So all was well, but always good getting the sweep against Vegas.
Don't be fooled. This senior league hockey, man, or just men's league hockey, it can get pretty contentious, pretty competitive. Don't be fooled. But there you see it for Matt and his Reno Ice Raiders as their season continues. All right, our season continues here. Let's get into it with this Tuesday slate. We will begin with Vancouver and Ottawa, all Canadian matchup. We've got the Ottawa Senators -220 home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. Yeah, this is series history over for me. My goodness, you look at these two teams, 9 straight overs with the Canucks taking on the Senators. All of them have cleared 6 as far as total goals as well. You're going to have Kevin Lankinen on a back-to-back here for the Vancouver Canucks tonight in this game. Levi Merrilainen will get the start for the Ottawa Senators. Talked about I've been betting a lot of Ottawa games over the total minus Linus Ullmark. We just don't trust their goaltending right now. And that has been proof. They've given up pretty much 3, 4, 5, 6 goals repeatedly of late. Vancouver can't defend all over again. We saw them give up 5 to Toronto, 6 to Montreal. It's been pretty rough the last few games defensively for the Vancouver Canucks on this road trip out east. So I don't know if they're going to slow down this Ottawa team. And Ottawa is one of these teams where they've had all kinds of chances, a lot of shots. They've carried the play in certain games, even the Florida game. They had chances and just they haven't been finishing quite as much. Tonight could be the night the floodgates open for Ottawa. But I think Vancouver will score too, because they did get 3 last night. don't trust Merriline and what we're seeing in net from him. So just a straightforward over bet here for me in this game. I'll probably make it a bifecta, but I like the full game even more. You can get over 6 minus 125. Alex, what do you think here? Vancouver, Ottawa.
Yeah, I'll grab a piece of that over 6. But if you're seeing 6.5 and with the adjusted juice on this 1.5 in the first period, I'm going to be waiting to grab a little bit more of the bifecta in game. But like I said, this definitely feels like it could be a track meet. We've seen that with the series history, and that's kind of the way I've been playing with Vancouver games. But I've been betting on them. Chances are I've been having these overs. And same thing with Ottawa, the way that their goaltending has been. Merriline and company have been an absolute mess on the back end. So overs for me, but I'll be going heavier in game and just, like I said, grab a little piece of that minus 125 with the over 6 pregame.
Yeah, this is nothing for me on the side. I can't back Vancouver at the moment, but there's no chance I'm interested in Ottawa at a price like this at minus 220. So it's just goals. Just ask for goals both ways, and that's I think what we're going to see here tonight. Matt, what do you think here? Canucks Sens.
Yeah, over bifecta for me. I actually like the first period over here a lot. Ottawa's 9-1 to first period overs right now. They're one of the hotter teams in the league. 2 first period overs, and then excluding last night's game, because I don't have on hand the Vancouver Canadiens game. Looks like it did hit the over. So now they're 7-3 to their last 10. So 2 teams trending to the over. Love the over at 6. I think this has a chance to get over 6.5. I think, this could be a big goal game. But yeah, first period, full game over. That's it for me.
Well, you look at it, Vancouver's given up 3 or more 9 of the last 10 games. Ottawa's given up 3 or more in 8 of the last 10 games. So if both teams can give up 3, if they both give up 3, there's your over right there. And that's exactly what we've seen from both teams. 9 of the last 10, the Canucks have yielded 3+ goals. The Sens in 8 of the last 10 have yielded 3+ goals as well. So it's definitely two teams that are allowing goals in bunches right now. As far as goal props here for this game tonight with Canucks and Sens, I would again look at Linus Karlsson. We had that hunch last night that, he had been playing well, cooled off a bit, but he did get on the board last night for the Vancouver Canucks, and he's on the top line with DeBrusk and Elias Pettersson. So I do think there's still good value there with him up there on that top line. Zetterlund, we've talked about for the Senators, playing with Stützle and Batherson. There's pretty good value with him. Shane Pinto, good point by Robert. Shane Pinto's had success against, I think, this particular goaltender here. Yeah, Lankinen. So there you go. And Jonathan saying, Michael Amadio, 3 goals on 8 shots against Lankinen. And Giroux with goals in 5 of the last 6 versus Vancouver. And Giroux has been much more dangerous lately. Hasn't scored in every game, but he's been getting the chances. So that might lead you toward looking toward him for a goal prop as well. All right, Montreal, Washington. Washington minus 140, home favorites, 6 the total. I mean, Montreal on a back-to-back. That's not a great spot, obviously, for them. But a 6-3 victory last night at home to Vancouver. They get to the capital of the U.S. here to take on the Washington Capitals tonight. Back-to-back situation for them. Washington's off a 3-2 loss to Nashville in their last game. So it's a definite spot advantage here for this Washington Capitals team. And with a lot of teams on the back-to-back tonight, it's nice to know that we had one of our previous guests on the show, and we will get him back on soon. I mean, I've been meaning to get him scheduled for another guest spot soon. Ryan Sura, he did a great job the first time, and he put together the list of the back-to-back records for all these teams as far as their records on the back-to-back this season. There's one team in particular that's been awesome on a back-to-back. We'll get to that. Vancouver's 4-5 on a back-to-back. Montreal 5-4. So actually, Montreal does have a winning and profitable record on the second night of back-to-back games this season. So we'll see if that if they can maintain that here tonight. It's going to be Sam Montembeault from Montreal, who does have a problem in the past against Washington. He has struggled, but his recent form is tremendous. He has turned aside 77 of the last 84 shots that he's faced. So he's given up 7 goals in the last 3 games combined. So he is clearly playing much better of late for the Canadiens. So it's kind of like what supersedes the other. Does Montembeau's excellent short-term recent form supersede the struggles against Washington, or do the struggles against Washington supersede the sizzling current form in net for Sam Montembeau, who I think you can argue right now is playing some of the best hockey he's had all year? So it's a bit of a dilemma here for me. I mean, I don't mind people looking toward the Caps team total over here if you buy into the struggles against Washington. Jacob Chychrun, by the way, first of all, Wilson's still out. Jacob Chychrun's a game-time decision. It's an illness with him. I don't know if this is one of these Chicago deals where it's a complete, flu bug situation, stomach virus running through the team. This might just be isolated to Chychrun, but Chychrun is a day-to-day for the Capitals, or game-time decision, I should say, tonight with that illness. We'll see how this one plays out. I haven't moved on it yet. Like I said, this game was a conundrum for me because I certainly could only take Washington with the spot being so strong in their favor. But Montembeau's played very well the last few times I've seen him. And Montreal as a team's playing well enough that do I want to take Washington as a favorite in this price range against them? Not really. So no move on this game as of yet. Alex, what do you think? Habs, Capitals.
I'm trusting in Montreal tonight. I like this spot quite a bit, but I think it could be a close battle. So this is dog and draw for me. I grabbed dog plus 118 is what I got at FanDuel. I grabbed my draw at plus 340 over at Caesars. And, of course, I'm also going with the overtime shootout win for Montreal. You can get plus 550 at FanDuel with that. So that's the way I'm looking at it here. Like I said, I'm trusting in Montembeau to give a solid performance. I don't like the Caps necessarily, like I said, laying here a price here, coming off of that, back and forth. They've been alternating wins and losses of late. So by following that proxy, this should be a win. That's why I think it could be kind of a close battle, but I think the Habs take that second point.
Yeah. Like I said, that's a good way to approach. Yeah, I like Ethan Frank as well. That's a great prop. Makes sense. I like, the one thing I've been doing right now is pinpointing these, a little bit deeper down the lineup players that just suddenly start streaking and start scoring goals in multiple games in a row. And that's been a staple of mine. And right now, that is in play here with Ethan Frank for Washington. 2 straight games with a goal for him. We'll see if he can keep that rolling. It's 4 straight with a goal for Ovechkin, who's heating up right now at this point in the season. You can never go wrong suggesting Alexei Protas either as well for a goal prop for the Washington Capitals. Ryan Leonard may be a consideration. And then for Montreal, it's basically the same small group of players that I'm betting every game right now. Kapanen, great value, producing. Tessier on the top line, great value, producing for Montreal. So those two players in particular, I'm very interested again in props here in this game tonight for the Montreal Canadiens. All right, Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, Lightning minus 140 road favorites, 6 the total here in this game. It's back-to-back for the Lightning. I'm aware of that, so it's not the greatest spot, but it's just very, very difficult for me to step in front of them right now. I tried it last night, got, my teeth kicked in for it with Philly. I'm not doing it again. And Tampa's 5-3 on a back-to-back this year. So they actually have a pretty good record on a back-to-back. The better of these two teams anyway. I know Pittsburgh does have a rest advantage. Pittsburgh was actually playing a little bit better, but they got cooled off, and their win streak got snapped over the weekend by the Calgary Flames in that 2-1 loss, and then they followed it up with the 1-0 shutout loss to the Boston Bruins on the Sunday in a back-to-back spot. So back-to-back losses for the Penguins. They're a streaky bunch. Watch them start to, go back the other way again a little bit. So now Braden Point, we'll have to see. I'd be shocked if he plays tonight. It's right now. They haven't ruled him out yet, but I just don't see him playing here on a back-to-back. Andrei Vasilevsky will get the start here tonight for the Lightning. And Artur Shilov's getting the nod here for the Pittsburgh Penguins in this game. I continue to be not really all that impressed with Shilov's 8-7-1, 3.18 goals against average, 876 save percentage. That's not great by any stretch of the imagination for Shilov's. He was in net for the last time they lost against Calgary. So I'm very tempted by just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. What have we said about Tampa during this win streak? 10 straight wins, and in every game they've scored at least 4 goals. And I see the team total 3.5 at plus 120 at Pinnacle for over 3.5 Tampa. I'm going to bet that. It's not the greatest spot for the Lightning, but I'm on that. At that price and 4 straight 10 straight games where they've scored at least 4 goals during this win streak, I will take that. So Tampa Bay over 3.5 plus 120 with the team total. Alex, what do you think here? Lightning, Penguins.
Yeah, this is one where I like the over by factor, but I'm playing full game over minus $1.15 pregame, and I'm going to try and wait and get a better adjusted price on that first period over. I'm seeing minus 135 to 140. I want to try and get that closer to a pick 'em or even plus money. So take care of the full game over pregame, and then just try to wait for a better price on that first period over in game. But I like goals here. Like I said, it usually has been Tampa Bay doing the brunt of the work during this 10-game streak. Like I said, not necessarily crazy about backing them on this back-to-back spot. This could be the night they get tripped up. But even if it is, if it's a game where Pittsburgh finds a way to win here, I don't see it being a 2-1, 3-2 kind of a battle. So give me the over by factor, but grab the full game over pregame, first period over in game.
No doubt. Good stuff there. As far as props go, Shinikov is the one I like for Pittsburgh. He's been getting chances every game. Hasn't scored in every game, but he's scored in a few, playing with Malkin and Novak. We've got Raquel, Crosby, and Rust reunited. For the Tampa Bay Lightning, Gage Gonsalves is going to be probably still on the top line. Now, it might be a different center tonight because Braden Point, I don't expect him to play. So it'll be someone else centering Kucherov and Gonsalves tonight, but Gonsalves certainly has had good value there. Hagel, Cirelli, and Gensel, and it is worth noting Gensel against his former team, the Pittsburgh Penguins. So could be one of those nights where Jake Gensel, haunts his old mates. That totally wouldn't shock me at all going into this game. Nick Paul, Pontus Holmberg, is someone that I think got on the board last game as well. So those are a couple depth shots that I might look at here for player props on the Tampa Bay side. Matt just took a work call, had to take a work call. So we'll get him back on the show in just a bit when he's done with that. All right, next up, we've got Calgary and Columbus. Columbus minus 140 home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. Yeah, so we've done this show now for 9 years now. It's just crazy how long, 2017, as far as full season. I think if you include the half a season we did way back in the SBR days in 2016, 10 years. It's crazy it's been that long. But one thing that we have certainly been a go-to betting angle for us during this time over the last decade doing the Ice Guys show has been you just bet on the team after they fire the coach, after a coaching change. And it's just rewarded us time and time and time again. And at least for the short term, it often gives the team a little bit of a bump and a little bit of a boost. And it wouldn't shock me to see that here. Plus Rick Bowness, who's been hired. And by the way, we actually haven't even talked about this yet because it happened after yesterday's show with that Dean Evison fired and Rick Bowness taking over as the head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets. But, I think the fact that it happened so suddenly is what's surprising. We're not saying we're totally shocked that Evison was canned. I think there's a lot of people. I know Aaron Portzline, Jeff Swoboda, some of these guys that cover the Jackets, they said they kind of maybe expected a move to happen maybe at or after the Olympic break, not this quickly, but it did happen. And I think they felt that, the losses are mounting. The defensive zone coverage is getting worse, not better with this Columbus team. They've had leads in the third period that they have not been able to hold during this run, and it just all added up to Don Waddell, the GM, just deciding, hey, we need a change here. And Rick Bowness has very much experience in these situations where he has to take over a team mid-season. I believe that's how it started with him in Winnipeg too. So he's used to these situations. He did a good job in it. So I think they are going to get a bump from this, at least in the short term. And it helps that they get a Calgary team that's a horrible road team, can't score goals on the road, even in their win against Pittsburgh. Finally, they won on the road. They only scored 2 goals. It's not like the offense got going. Devin Cooley was outstanding, and kept Pittsburgh at bay. It's not like Calgary got their offense on track. They only scored 2 goals in that game, and they are dead last I checked, in the NHL in goals per game on the road. So they get the right opponent, too. You get a beatable team for this coaching bump game with Rick Bowness taking over behind the bench here for the Columbus Blue Jackets in this game. And all the talk has been defense. All the talk, because they know and that's actually what Bowness is good at. Bowness is good at installing some systems and some structure defensively. He's been able to do that in the past. He's been known as not only a pretty solid head coach, but a solid defensive-minded head coach. And the Jacket fans were livid with the fact that I believe his name is Steve McCarthy, was allowed to stick around as the assistant coach for as long as he has. He's been the assistant coach with Columbus through multiple head coaches that have been here. And all the while, their defensive play as a team has been terrible. And they think now that the McCarthy's been rooted out. He was also sent packing along with Dean Evison, that maybe now this is the change to maybe get Columbus to, becomes a better defensive team. You need the blue liners to do that. You need the forwards to buy in. There's definitely truth to that. But the fact that you're going to have some new voices and some new structure and some new ways to go about it and to help improve this team defensively certainly can't hurt and can only help. It'll be interesting to see now how this affects Jet Greaves, who, let's be honest, hasn't been a great run for him. I think it's been a combination of terrible play in front of the goalie, and also he's a little worn down right now. We've talked about the fatigue factor. He has smashed his career high in games started in the NHL for a single season, and it's clearly had an impact. But, I expect a pretty strong effort, win puck battles, every time, not every time, but large majority of the time, that first game after a coaching change, the players play with their hair on fire. Like, they go through the boards to try to win that puck battle, get that chance, get that opportunity, win that game. And I would expect not only a fast start tonight, but I would expect Columbus to get the job done here. So I'm splitting this up with 3 different Jackets bets: Columbus first goal, first period, Columbus first period money line, and Columbus full game money line here in this game. And I wouldn't even talk you out of one or both. Jackets over their team total. Flames, I actually like Flames under their team total even more, because we know this team can't score on the road. And I actually bet it. I actually bet it on Saturday. Calgary team total under against Pittsburgh. And I cashed it even though they won the game. They won the game 2-1, and I still hit that Calgary team total under 2.5 against Pittsburgh. They just can't score on the road. Their road offense, you can't find it with a telescope, the old Ian Cameron line. You just can't. This Calgary team has had problems all year scoring goals on the road. They've scored 2 or less in 4 straight games, just 1 goal in 3 of those 4 games. So I like Columbus team total over, but I think I like the Calgary element of that even more, the Calgary side of it. Calgary team total under. You could go with 3. You could go under 3 minus 140 at BetMGM, BetRivers. Or if you want to get the plus money, you can go with under 2.5 at plus 120. I'm going to just go under 2.5, plus 120 for the plus price. Why not? I mean, they haven't eclipsed 2 goals in 4 straight games. This is the worst offense in the NHL on the road. So, like I said, I don't see Calgary getting to the 3 mark here tonight. What do you think here, Alex? Calgary, Columbus.
Yeah, like you said, we've been backing this trend for a long time of betting on a team when they make a coaching change, especially one that, like I said, we knew there would be a change made, but to see it made now, to see this change particularly being made, I don't know if Rick Bowness is going to be the answer moving forward, even for this particular season. I think it was a bit of a strange move necessarily. This lineup wasn't that good. It wasn't all a Dean Evison issue. Like I said, now the rumblings of Steve McCarthy, that seems to be more of a rooted problem amongst the coaching staff, like you said, and fans have wanted him out for quite some time, so they get their wish in that aspect. But I have 3 plays of my own with Columbus. I am with you on that first period, first goal. Got plus 115 there at FanDuel. I went with Columbus regulation money line, plus 120, and I went with the money line tied with the under 7.5, plus 113 at FanDuel with that mark, like you said. Believe there's going to be an emphasis on defense. That's usually the bread and butter with Rick Bowness. Like you said, a Calgary team that struggled to score goals away from home. Definitely would be looking at that. So bumping up that under to a 7.5, knocking that money line price down a little bit, turning that into a plus 113. So I like that, along with first goal, first period, and Columbus to win within 60.
All right, there we go. I like that idea of Columbus money line and getting the total up to that 7.5 in the parlay. That makes a lot of sense to me here in this game. We'll go with a couple value shots here for props too as well. I think it could be a Fantilli night. He's one of the leaders on this team offensively. I think he gets going. I like Cole Sillinger up on the top line. That's a change that Rick Bowness is already implementing, moving Cole Sillinger to that Marchenko-Fantilli top line. Kent Johnson, I'm going to stick with it. I think Kent Johnson is a better offensive player than his stats show this season. He's obviously had a down season. He's the prototypical player where maybe it was an Evason thing and things were just going awry. And now with a new voice, new message behind the bench for a guy that's got offensive talent like Kent Johnson, maybe that's just what the doctor ordered, for him to be able to turn things around. No question about it. So like I said, this is definitely, I think Kent Johnson might benefit a little bit as well from just having a new voice, new message behind the bench from Rick Bowness. And like I said, Rick Bowness has done this before. Take a team over after the previous guy gets fired. It happened in Winnipeg when he took over there. And took over there after it was right after midseason when Paul Maurice stepped down. That's when it happened. Remember, Paul Maurice resigned, and then Rick Bowness took over, and he thrived in that scenario. So we'll see if he can thrive in that. From what I understand, Elliot Friedman's reported this. Aaron Portzline's mentioned it. For now, this is just Rick Bowness is the head coach of this team for the rest of this season. Nothing's been decided beyond that. We don't even know if Rick Bowness wants to do this beyond this season. Because remember, this is a guy that, stepped down from the Jets because of the health issues of his wife at the time. She was going through some health problems, and he was getting close to 70 years old. It sounded at the time like he was pretty sure that was going to be it for him. Apparently, though, this opportunity was too good to turn down. And he said it in the press conference earlier today. I heard some of it. He really feels he can help this team. He said it. That's why I took this job. I think I can help this team. I can make them better. I can help make them better. And all it took was a little 5-minute phone call from Don Waddell yesterday, tracked down Rick Bowness apparently on his yacht or his boat in Florida, and apparently talked about it, said, I'm thinking of making the change, and I'm thinking of making you my next head coach. Are you interested? Apparently it only took 5 minutes for Rick Bowness to say yes. So clearly he thinks he can do some good for this Columbus Blue Jackets team, and we'll see how this works out starting tonight. I think tonight it'll work out quite well because I do like Columbus here in this game. All right, next up, we've got Boston hosting Detroit. This is the first of your TNT doubleheader tonight, a Tuesday night TNT doubleheader. We've got Boston minus 130, home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. I know Jimmy Murphy. I saw Jimmy Murphy in the chat earlier. I didn't mention it, but I saw it. And I think he made a case for the Bruins tonight, potentially Bruins by margin. I think he said Bruins puck line he likes tonight in this game. I certainly wouldn't be on Detroit on a back-to-back after the Fedorov ceremony last night and a big win against Carolina with the 4-3 overtime win. It's certainly not an A-plus Red Wing spot, and that's putting it mildly here in this game tonight. That being said, and Boston, look, they've won 5 of the last 6. It was a brutal stretch. They had a bad losing streak. They couldn't score goals. And now, well, they only scored 1 in the last game, but it was enough to win. But, the offense has picked it up, 4 goals or more in 3 of the last 4. Like I said, 5-1 in their last 6 games. Detroit's coming in here on a back-to-back after a fun night, an exciting win, a great win, and an emotional night because you're for the great Sergei Fedorov. So this is definitely not a Detroit spot. It's just a question of, for me, do I want to back Boston? I don't know if I want to back Boston that badly as a minus 130 favorite, especially considering this Detroit team just continues to roll along nicely here. 4 straight wins entering this game, playing well, albeit this is a tough spot, like I said, for this Detroit team. 4-1 is a road favorite, 6-9 is a road dog, says Jonathan. So those numbers certainly give credence to strengthening the argument for Boston here in this game tonight. But I'm going to just bet the draw here in this game. Red Wings and Bruins. Every point's big right now for both of these teams. I could see this still being a pretty close game, and I think we could see this one cash the draw. I lean over, but I'm going to wait for 5.5 here. Going to wait for 5.5 here because we do have the lesser of the 2 goalies tonight in net for the Detroit Red Wings. That, of course, being Mr. Cameron Talbot. It hasn't been confirmed, but I would expect Cam Talbot to be in net. And Jeremy Swayman in between the pipes here for the Boston Bruins, who's had a couple of shaky outings lately. So I am interested in the over, but I'm going to wait, see if I can get a 5.5 full game number live out of this thing. Alex, what do you think here? Red Wings, Bruins.
Yes, another one where I like the draw. I grab that plus 340 over at Caesars, but I like Boston to get the win here, so I'm going with that little move at FanDuel plus 550 for Bruins to get the win in overtime or a shootout.
All right. I agree with someone in our chat. I think it was Brewski. Happy birthday to Brewski, by the way, one of our good viewers. And he's been on some of our betcasts before, I know. Mentioned that Morgan Geekie, his wife, just gave birth. He's a new father, new papa. So the dad bumped tonight, and he's back in the lineup. And he's been a healthy scratch lately, too. This is just adds up to the perfect time to step in, and let's get Morgan Geekie back on track here. Healthy scratch, and now he's a new dad. Now he's back in the lineup for the first time since then. So, yeah, this could be the night to get back in with Morgan Geekie here. Now, again, you're not getting bargain bin. You haven't gotten bargain bin prices for him to score a goal for a long time now. But still, I think it's a pretty good spot here at plus 180 in that range for him to find the back of the net. Jonathan's going to go with first Boston goal for Morgan Geekie, plus 600. So just a little bit, just not only that he's going to get on the board, but he'll come out flying early. And I think he has scored the first goal for the Bruins on a handful of occasions this year. So maybe this is going to be one of those nights that it does happen. I'm also going to take Marat Husnadinov again. We've talked about it. Still with Pasternak and Lindholm. There's some really good value as long as he stays up on that top line. He had the Hattie against the New York Rangers earlier in the or over the weekend. So that's definitely something worth a look. No question about it. What else do we see here for Victor Arvidsson scored last game? Don't be scared to look at Fraser Minton and some of these other players down the lineup for Boston too. They have been solid for the Boston Bruins. For Detroit, back to back, we'll see how much offense they produce. But JVR heating up again, the old veteran, as Don Cherry would say, James Van Beesbrook. Heating up again for the Detroit Red Wings. So, yeah, I don't mind maybe rolling with him. I mean, he's definitely been picking up, getting on a roll once again. Yeah, 9 times this year, says Jonathan, for Morgan Geekie scoring the Bruins' first goal. All right, next up, we've got Carolina and St. Louis. Carolina minus 170, road favorites, 6 the total here in this game. Carolina, tough loss last night. I don't blame them for being upset. Rod Brindamore for being upset. That's such a bad, atrocious, really inexcusable missed call. I don't know how the hell that's missed with 2 referees out there. That cross-check right before the Detroit game-winning goal in overtime. But nevertheless, you got to move on. Can't do anything about it now. Carolina and St. Louis, they've actually exchanged wins and losses in the last 4 meetings, but long-term Carolina still 7-3 in the last 10 meetings. Blues, it looked like they were starting to play a little bit better hockey, but now they've dropped 3 in a row. 0-3 road trip at Chicago, at Utah, at Vegas, losing all 3 of those games. Now they're back home off that little 3-game road trip. It's kind of a bet against versus bet against spot. It's Carolina on a back-to-back, but it's St. Louis off a 3-game road trip and not playing well. So, I'm not exactly excited, especially at the current price point, to back either of these teams here in this particular situation. Maybe a mild lean to the draw, but even then, I don't love this draw here tonight. This is definitely one where if I bet it, it's going to be a wait-and-see approach for me. It looks like, by the way, as far as goaltending is concerned, it will be Joel Hofer for St. Louis. Brandon Bussey, no surprise there on the back-to-back after Anderson got the start. Bussey will be in net here tonight for the Carolina Hurricanes. And some injuries are starting to mount here for St. Louis. Already they've been without Holloway and Suter for a while, and now Robert Thomas is out, and Philip Broberg on the blue line is out and probably not coming back anytime soon. So this is just a clear stay away game for me pregame. We'll see if something interests me live as this game's going on, but not a whole lot pregame that I'm excited about. Alex, what do you think here? Carolina, St. Louis.
Yeah, on a big card night like this is one where if I see something live, I'll play it, but pregame, it's a pass for me.
Yeah. I mean, I could only look at Carolina, even though they're on a back-to-back, but, minus 170 on the road on a back-to-back, no thank you. If they fall behind, I'll take Carolina, because we know Carolina can come back. They did it last night. So, like I said, if they fall behind and I can get plus money on Carolina, I'll be interested. As far as props for them, there are a couple that stand out here for me, even though I'm not involved in the side in the total pregame. Otto Stenberg could be with Shen and Snuggerud on the top line. If that's the case, great value for Otto Stenberg for St. Louis here tonight. For Carolina, Logan Stankoven, talked about how good he's been. Jackson Blake maybe heating up a bit. So those are a couple props for Carolina that we could look at for them in this game here tonight. All right, we move along. It is Edmonton, Nashville. Edmonton minus 130 road favorites. 6.5 the total here in this game. This is definitely over or past spot for me, but might try to take my chances waiting to see if 5.5 pops up here on the bat. The one thing that does concern me, and I've said this, I want overs with Edmonton with the Pickard and Ingram duo. I don't trust them, although Ingram was solid last night, and Pickard's been up and down. Pickard does have very good numbers, though, against Nashville. I couldn't help but notice that. For some reason, this is one of those teams he's played very well against. And Saros, who's expected to get the nod here tonight for Nashville, although it hasn't been confirmed yet. And here's a little gut intuition here with this. Andrew Burnett just actually got one of the best performances of the season from Justus Ananen against Washington. We know UC Saros does not have good numbers nor a good track record against Edmonton in his career. Does he give Ananen? Does he do the Jared Bednar like Jared did with Trent Miner coming off a shutout win and reward him for a good start? Does he give Ananen another opportunity tonight? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying it's potential it happens. I know he played well against I got to see more still, but he did play well against Washington Ananen in that game. So, like I said, we'll see how this one goes. This is definitely a live game for me. If it hits 5.5, I'll bet the over live. If Edmonton, starts slow on the back-to-back, gives up the first goal, maybe I'll bet Edmonton live because they have had a good run of it against Nashville. They just beat Nashville 6-2 in Edmonton recently. But this is definitely going to be a live game for me. Alex, what do you think? Oilers, Predators?
Yeah, so the only thing I could do here, too, would be waiting for these totals to drop down live. Looking at Calvin Pickard's numbers against Nashville, 3-4 record, but a 2.82 goals against average and a 912 save percentage. Like you said, strong save numbers overall. Record not as sharp. And he said, Saros has had some rough numbers against the Oilers. So this is one where I could only look at looking at goals, but I think we'll have time to wait and grab 6 or maybe even 5.5 in game. Grab a better price with that first period over as well.
Yeah, and yes, everyone onto it in the chat, and it is indeed true. We've got a birthday boy, Connor McDavid, here for the Edmonton Oilers. So does that mean you just automatically bet Connor McDavid 3 points or Connor McDavid hat trick, something like that, that he's going to go off tonight? And one thing we know about Draisaitl, it's Draisaitl against Nashville, and yes, the numbers for Leon Draisaitl in his career against Nashville, it's pretty eye-popping what he's done. It's almost like, the Nashville Predators did something personally to this guy because the way he's played against them, it's been something else. So, yeah, Leon Draisaitl against Nashville always seems to make some things happen. I personally like Podkolzin and Kapanen with Draisaitl as well. If Draisaitl is going to have a big game tonight, you would think his line mates, Kapanen and Podkolzin, are going to be involved. So I'd be interested in the value with them tonight, especially knowing that the guy that centers their line, Leon Draisaitl, has done such great work against the Nashville Predators, and he's played so well against them. No apologies, Matt. No apologies. It happens. No, all good. If you can join us again at the end for Bargain Bin and Best Bets, come on back. If not, no worries. It happens. Shit happens. What are you going to do? All right, next up, New York Islanders, Winnipeg Jets. We've got Winnipeg minus 125, home favorites, 5.5 the total. How about this? Winnipeg, the light at the end of the tunnel. They see it at long last after the ugly 11-game losing streak. 2 straight wins now for the Winnipeg Jets, beating LA Friday night, and then, of course, with the win against New Jersey, 4-3 on Sunday afternoon. They'll be looking to keep it going here against the Islanders in this game. Islanders coming off they didn't play great. Sorokin was great. They were outplayed by Minnesota, but the Islanders get the win, and I was very happy about that because we had Islanders plus money in that one, and they got the job done 4-3 in overtime. We'll see if they can carry it over. One thing about the Islanders, they're a streak offensive team, and right now they're on the good side of the streak, scoring 4 goals or more 3 of the last 4 games. With this total being where it is, this is definitely a numbers play. Am I in love with betting an over with the Islanders and the Jets? No, but you're going to give me 5.5, and now plus 105. Think about it. There's no juice on this. It's over 5.5 at plus 105 now in this game. When Winnipeg has seen their games, 6 straight Winnipeg games have had at least 6 goals. 6 straight Winnipeg games, at least 6 goals. I'm going to go with over 5.5. I think we're getting value here. Absolutely with this over. The Islanders are starting to score again. They've gone 5-2 to the over in their last 7. Like I said, it's been 6 straight overs, 6 straight games for the Jets that have had at least 6 goals. Sorokin and Hellebuck is your matchup. Hellebuck, to me, is still a little unsteady. Sorokin's been very good, but Winnipeg's starting to score again. Like I said, Winnipeg is still a little bit leaky at the back end. New Jersey scored 3 goals against them. I don't put too much stock in LA with a banged-up team only scoring 1 goal against Winnipeg. That's no sign of a turnaround for the Jet defense against the Kings on Friday night. So I think over 5.5 at plus money is a good look. What do you? And a little sprinkle on the draw here for me as well. Alex, what do you think? Islanders, Jets.
Yeah, I like this draw quite a bit, but the books already kind of know we all like to draw when it involves the Islanders. So you're not getting much of any value. You plus 300, plus 305 is the best value I'm seeing with that. So not the biggest draw play for me, but I will have a piece of that. And like I said, 5.5, you're getting plus 100, plus 105 pregame. This is one where you can wait a little bit further. Try and get that even further into plus 115, plus 120 range. So that's the way I'm going to play this here. It's not often that we get a 5.5, like I said, in this kind of a range here. Just wait a few minutes and see if you get that into the plus 120, plus 125, or even maybe you get a 4.5 potentially to bet into. So just wait for that live, but I will have a little piece of the draw pregame.
All right, good stuff indeed. Patrick Waugh sung the praises of this guy in the post game. After the win against Minnesota in overtime, and he scored the overtime winner. You got to ride with him right now. 3 straight games with a goal. Simon Holmstrom right now for the New York Islanders. Really starting to do a nice job for the Islanders offensively. This guy's had offensive abilities and ability to score goals. It's just been very inconsistent, very erratic. It happens in fits and starts for him. But to see him now score 3 games in score goals in 3 games in a row, it's a very good sign for the Islanders. So I'm definitely interested in Simon Holmstrom as far as goal prop for the Islanders. Duclair is a streaky player, and even he started to percolate since he went up to the Barzal and Anders Lee line. That might be worth a look. For Winnipeg, I would say, I follow with Scheifele and Connor worth a shot. How about Jonathan Toews as well? Is this the start of a hot streak? Alex, back-to-back games with a goal for Captain Serious.
Maybe.
Toews, after not doing diddly squat, Bubkus offensively all year, and now back-to-back games with a goal. Is this a sign that maybe you can get a little bit of a surge going?
Yeah, we've seen him get streaky like that toward the end of his run with the Hawks. So maybe that's the case where, like I said, having a couple goals now, he's someone you can look on at least, if not goals, certainly points. Try and keep the point streak rolling.
But yeah, it's been, like I said, just a little bit of an uptick, and you're getting plus 400 with him. So, like I said, I might have to sprinkle on that just a bit. Velarde's done well against Sorokin in the past. So I'll be looking at that. Yeah, so over and draw for me in this game. And you know what's good about the over, too? The series history, at least the shorter-term series history lines up with it. Because it's 4 of the last 5 meetings between the Islanders and Jets have gone over the total here as well. 4-1 in the last 5. So, like I said, definitely the over's worth a look. Yeah, there's some truth to that, Benji. You're getting such great value and a price for this. Does this mean it's 3-1, 3-2 tonight? Yeah, maybe. But, given the 6 straight games for the Jets that have gone to 6 goals or more, I'm going to still bet it. I still like it. Over 5.5, certainly like the price as well, plus 105. All right, next up, Toronto with maybe the win of the night last night in the NHL, beating Colorado, ending their 17-game home winning streak. And now they go to Utah for one of the most brutal back-to-back spots any team can go through in the NHL. Back-to-back with altitude in the thin air here against the Utah Mammoth. We've got Utah minus 150, though, in some spot. Doesn't it seem like the spot is baked into this number? I mean, my goodness, you got to lay minus 150 with Utah in this spot. It's clear spot advantage for the Utah Mammoth, but my goodness, minus 150 for a team that's playing mediocre hockey? Boy, oh boy. 6 the total in this game. We'll see how. I certainly don't want Toronto tonight. I thank Toronto for the win last night. We had the puck line primarily, just a small dabble in the money line at plus 200 as well. I thought they could have a shot against Colorado, and they end up getting the job done. Like I said, handing Colorado their first home loss in 17 games last night. But this is not at all a Toronto spot by any stretch of the imagination. These have been difficult situations, although Columbus just got it done on a back-to-back in Utah, although they were playing in Vegas the day before, not Colorado. So it was not back-to-back in No, it was. Sorry. My bad. They were in Colorado the day before. You're right. Saturday Columbus was in Colorado. Then they were in Utah and actually won that back-to-back. So that tells you all you need to know that, I just can't touch Utah at minus 150, even though this is definitely an advantageous scheduling spot for them here in this game. I mean, they lost in this very spot. Think about it, to Columbus, who just fired a coach, and they lost in this spot to Columbus Sunday after Columbus rolled into town after being in Colorado the day before, just like Toronto is here tonight for this game. I can't trust Utah enough, and certainly not at this price. So this is a pass for me. Maybe in game we bet something, but nothing really strong at the pregame here for the Leafs and the Mammoth. There are a couple props I do like, which I'll mention in a minute, though. Alex, what do you think? Toronto, Utah.
Yeah, this is another game where I grabbed draw. Got plus 340 once again at Caesars. Like I said, this is a spot where it just feels like it could be a little dicey, could be a tough battle, and it would not shock me one bit. Maybe take a shot with the correct score at 3-3. So a little lean to the over, but liking that draw and getting a decent price with it at plus 340.
Yeah, no doubt. What I would do is, if you like Utah, this is how you approach it. You do what Mel in Denver says, which is I would agree. I mean, if you like Utah, maybe they get the first goal, first period. I don't mind that approach. It's certainly a better approach than taking minus 150 pregame. Or else you maybe take a shot that, the Leafs are running on fumes and the adrenaline and the energy from last night's big win. They come out strong in the first 20 minutes. That's probably going to be their best period anyway, because I find a lot of teams on the back-to-back are at their strongest in the opening 20 minutes, and then the legs start to give out second period, third period as the game goes on. So what I would say is, if you like Utah, you can either bet that first goal, first period, or if you happen to think that maybe the Leafs, just ride the momentum and the wave from last night early, and then they start to peter out, you can wait to see if you can get a better price with Utah in-game here with them later on. Maybe the Leafs do get the lead early, and then you'll get obviously even money or plus money with Utah in-game here in this one. Yeah, this is one, too, where the over, I could see it, but this could be another one like we talked about with Edmonton, Nashville. I could see it maybe starting a little bit slow. Maybe it gets going as the game goes on. So I'm not going to have to wait long, because this total 6 minus 115. Not going to have to wait long to get 5.5, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to wait to get 5.5 here with this. To Alex's point about liking the draw, the game in Utah last year with the Leafs and the Mammoth did go to a shootout, did go past regulation, and Toronto won in a shootout 4-3 at Utah. So reason to think that maybe this game does indeed have some overtime potential. All right, as far as props for this game are concerned, I mean, I would just stick with this. Now, Nick Robertson got banged up last night. He may or may not go. He's a game-time decision, but Max Domi's got value. The Michelli, Tavares, Nylander line's been very good. Easton Cowan's been noticeable. I don't know how you don't take Bobby McMann either. Bobby McMann scored a great goal last night for the Leafs. He's got 2 goals in the last 4 games. His speed is a difference maker. So, yeah, Bobby McMann, it makes a lot of sense. The Perlo specials, that's 100%, Jonathan. That makes a ton of sense. I think we took this. The last time it was Columbus, Utah. Alex knows this. Sunday, Columbus, Utah. We mentioned the Perlo special maybe being a good bet in that game. Columbus goal in the first period, Utah goal in the second period. It cashed in that game. Even though Utah lost 3-2, Columbus scored in the first and Utah scored in the second. That's probably a good bet tonight. Totally agree with that. Leafs first period goal, Utah second period goal. At that plus 120. I think that makes a ton of sense. Because again, the Leafs are going to get, you would think that they would wilt as the game goes on.
Plus 120 if you put that together. So yeah, I definitely will be betting that again.
Yeah, no doubt. That probably is worth a look in my opinion. All right, last game for this Tuesday slate. This is the final game of the NHL on TNT doubleheader. We've got Dallas minus 120 road favorites. The total here sitting at 6.5 in this game. I mean, We don't ask, we don't think, we just bet. And what we do with Anaheim right now is we don't ask, we don't think, we just bet the over. That's what we do right now with this Anaheim Ducks team. 8 straight overs, 11-1 to the over in the last 12 Anaheim Ducks games. Even miracle overs are coming through with Anaheim right now, because I'll be honest, it looked like they were finally going to have an under at the end of that road trip Saturday night against the Buffalo Sabres, until it all of a sudden just chaos unfolded late. All havoc broke loose all of a sudden late, and we got a plethora of goals. The game ended up going over the total. So, yeah, another Anaheim over. I like this Dallas-Anaheim over 6.5, -130. Dallas on the second night of a back-to-back. Beware of this. You always think, oh, back-to-back, got to fade the team on a back-to-back. Not this Dallas team. 6-1 this season on the second night of back-to-back games for the Dallas Stars. They've been very good in this situation. This is an LA to Anaheim back-to-back. So, the travel is minimal. You don't have to get on an airplane. You're just traveling down the freeway. You even stay in the same hotel probably, like I said. So this is – I could only look at Dallas now, given the way Anaheim's playing. I mean, they just can't get out of their own way. They've been awful defensively. Lukas Dostal, we've talked about this. I'm repeating the same bullet points that I've talked about for, it seems like, 8-9 games in a row for Anaheim. Dostal's not been the same since returning from the injury. I think it's going to be him tonight. Yes, it is. Casey DeSmith will probably get the start for Dallas. It hasn't been confirmed, but on the back-to-back, I would expect him to be in net. He had been playing well, but he was in net for that rough collapse against San Jose on Saturday, where Dallas had a 4-2 lead, and they ended up losing that game 5-4. So we'll see how it goes. It's Dallas or pass. I'm passing for now, but the over's the clear look for me, over 6.5. What I would say, too, is if you like Dallas, consider the team total in addition to the money line, because Dallas has scored 13 goals in the 2 games combined. They've scored at least 4 in 3 straight. And by the way, the previous 2 meetings this year, they've already played each other twice. Once in Anaheim, once in Dallas. You know what the scores were? 7-5, 8-3. I mean, it flew over the total both times. So, yeah, over 6.5 for me. No brainer. Alex, what do you think? Dallas, Anaheim.
I'll grab a small piece of over 6.5, but I'll be waiting to grab 6 in game. I'm on Dallas. I grab minus $1.15 money line, and then I have the Dallas parlay with the over 4.5 at +110. Like I said, it's a very strong track record with that second night of back-to-backs, and with the way Anaheim's playing right now, can't back them as a side, but definitely can look for the over. So Dallas tied with the over, Dallas by themselves. Little piece of that over 6.5, but when I go heavier, try to grab a 6 in game.
And this is off a 4-game road trip as well for Anaheim. So not only has this team lost 9 in a row, and struggling mightily, but like I said, they're also off a 4-game road trip out east where they played Washington, Philly, Carolina, Buffalo. So like I said, that makes it even more difficult. So even though it's a back-to-back for Dallas, they have a great track record on a back-to-back, 6-1. And Anaheim, even though they've got the rest advantage, how much rest is it? You're coming off the East Coast road trip, first game, which is always difficult. So actually, this actually might be a rare instance where it's a better spot for the team on a back-to-back, if you can believe it, going into this game, which would be for the Dallas Stars. As far as props go for Stars and Ducks here in this game, we talked about Jason Robertson scoring last night. Wyatt Johnston's heating up. 4 of the last 5 with a goal, 5 of the last 10 with a goal. Again, you're not getting great prices with him, but worth a shot. Matt Duchene, who I believe is up the lineup too right now for the Dallas Stars. Last night, he was lined up with no, actually he wasn't, but nevertheless, he scored into the empty net for the Dallas Stars. They got Steele, Johnston, and Rantanen from what I'm seeing. So, and Sam Steele had, I don't know how he missed into the empty net last night, but he did. And it almost, you worry it's one of those Edmonton-Dallas situations for them. Where it was Edmonton versus Dallas years ago, where Dallas misses putting it into the empty net. Edmonton comes down, and they end up tying the game. I mean, just absolutely crazy finish. And I thought that was going to happen last night in that Dallas-LA game. But nevertheless, they did eventually put it away into the empty net in that game. And then for Anaheim, I mean, the one thing Anaheim can still do is, defensively they've been a mess, but they have still been able to chip in goals. Troy Terry's a game-time decision, by the way, for them tonight. But Michael Granlund's the one I like, right? Former Dallas Star. looks like he'll be with Mason McTavish and Cutter Gauthier on the top line tonight for the Anaheim Ducks. So, we like that former player angle as well. Had a brief amount of time with the Dallas Stars last year. So I like that with Michael Granlund here tonight for Anaheim. And you can get him actually in the plus 300 range. So shop around for that. There he is. Work has finally let him loose. Matt is back with us. Perfect timing so he can talk about his beloved Dallas Stars. Have at it. What do you think here, Dallas Anaheim?
No, I am on Dallas tonight, but it's mainly the Ducks being, on this 9 straight loss streak. They're 1-9-1 dating back to Dallas beating them in Anaheim 8-3. It just feels. I actually got in at minus 110 when it was basically a pick 'em. The lines obviously moved a little bit towards Dallas, but it just seems like a Dallas spot. I probably will do a same game parlay on this one as well. 1.5, 5.5. I think the TNT angle, the Ducks giving up a shit ton of goals. Dallas has definitely been far from, perfect defensively. They looked a little better last night against LA, but was that, Dallas stepping up, or was that LA is just dog shit at home? So, I'm not convinced Dallas is going to shut the door every single night. The Ducks do have opportunities to score. Dallas is taking a lot of penalties right now. So I think first period and full game over 5.5, same game parlay is worth a look, probably for a couple bucks, but main play here is Stars money line. And I took them last night. I'm taking them tonight. I hadn't taken them for 5 or 6 games, but just the value spot, last night, LA being a brutal home team. Tonight, you've got 6-1 Dallas on back-to-backs. I got it at minus 110 against a Ducks team that's got 9 straight losses. So could the Ducks win this and kind of get themselves out of the hole? Absolutely. But I think Dallas has played great on back-to-backs. They didn't have to travel on this one. It's a quick bus trip down. So give me the Stars on the money line on this one.
Yeah, this is TNT. I think I mentioned that already, but yeah, this is the second TNT game tonight as well. That is interesting. I think Dallas is going to give up a few tonight because it's DeSmith. He was a little shaky against San Jose. Anaheim can still score goals. I mean, the one thing about Anaheim is, even coming off the road, I don't know if they'll have fresh legs by any stretch, but they're going to play with desperation. They don't want this thing to continue. So I'd expect them to throw a lot at Dallas. So I think Anaheim will score a bit. Dallas will, though, too, because everyone's scoring right now against Anaheim. And like Jonathan alluding to the fact that as a road favorite, 11 of 13 games as a road favorite this year, Dallas, they've given up at least 3 goals. So that is something to keep in mind. So when they've been expected to take care of business on the road, they haven't exactly been playing shutdown hockey. And I think there's going to be a lot more pace and free-flowing action to this game than, say, Dallas-LA was. Let's be honest. Let's call it like we see it. That was a fucking snore fest last night. The Stars and Kings for the most part. This game should have a little bit more chutzpah to it, a little more energy to it, no doubt, with the Stars and the Ducks here tonight. Before we get to the ads and best bet and bargain bin and all that great stuff, Matt, we're not going to go game by game, but anything from the games that you were away that you liked tonight?
Yeah, a couple games I've circled for first period overs that I missed. Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is 9-1 to goal in first 10 minutes, 7-3 to first period overs. I think Tampa is a team that I just seem to like overs with in general. They're 6-4 to the first period over. So that's one that I have the first period over circled. One other first period over that I like a lot is Carolina St. Louis. St. Louis is 8-2 to goal in first 10, 7-3 to first period overs. Carolina 6-4 to both. So both teams trending towards first period overs, goals early. And Carolina shoots a lot of pucks. I think they're second in the league in shots per game. So I think 2-0 Carolina, 1-1. St. Louis tries to come out and play well at home, scores a goal in the first. Doesn't really matter if it's 2-0 either way, 1-1. I like the first period over there. I do lean Boston. I think I might split it up with Boston and the team total. I know Jimmy Murphy mentioned it in the chat, but I just think, that was a big win for the Red Wings last night. Sort of a tough spot, TNT game tonight in Boston. So I just think it's got everything going well for Boston. So I might do a little Boston money line and team total in that game. And then, it's tough. I was reading, you mentioned the post on teams on back-to-backs, Edmonton being one of the brutal teams on back-to-backs. I just don't know that I can trust Nashville. I think I saw somewhere it's McDavid's birthday, so hard to see an angle where Nashville beats the Oilers tonight, so I'll probably stay off that game. I want to take Nashville given the back-to-back spot, but I just don't think I can at this point. And then I think that's it. I was gonna take a first period or a first goal of the first period on Columbus. New head coach Ricky Bones, big fan, great broadcaster, or I mean, not really broadcaster, in between period analyst.
And he did a
but
great
happy to
job
see.
with that. He was not just good, he was great with the studio stuff. Not just TNT. He did some for Hockey Night in Canada as well, but mostly with TNT, and he was great with that. That part I'll miss. I'm actually kind of I'll miss that part of his life after retiring. Well, we thought was retired.
Yeah.
Now we find out it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he was great. It was funny watching him talking to Stars players and other former teams that he coached because, they weren't really expecting him to be there, and then they're shocked and, they're excited. He seems like a very well-liked coach. I think, at this point in his career, he's a guy that comes in with a group, is pretty good for a couple seasons, and then you've got to kind of bring somebody else in. But, I think guys want to play hard for him. Guys enjoy being around him. So, I'm going to take a shot on that first goal in the first period. Columbus at home, new head coach. I think they've got some juice going. So that's probably it. I mean, I'm sure I have a couple plays in these other games, but as far as stuff that really sticks out, I'll leave it at that.
There we go. Great stuff. And yeah, of course, the great quip from Jonathan Davis that he was just sick of working with Biz, Rick Bowness. That's why he's coaching again. That's pretty funny. Great stuff. Like I said, I'm looking forward to that. How do the Jackets look in Rick Bowness's return behind the bench, taking over for the Jackets? We got that. Montreal-Washington's a pretty interesting game. Detroit-Boston on TNT. We got Islanders-Winnipeg. How does Toronto fare after the huge win last night? Is it a letdown, or can they keep it going in a tough spot? And of course, Dallas-Anaheim should be exciting in the late night hours. So good night of hockey. Hopefully a good night of bets as well, and good results. It certainly was last night. Check out wizardsportspicks.com. Speaking of good results, wizardsportspicks.com. A lot of handicappers having good results right now at wizardsportspicks.com. I mean, for me alone, it's been a great 30-day run, all sports. It's profitable seasons in NHL, NFL, NBA, college basketball simultaneously. Very proud of that. The NHL run's really been good the last few days as well. So get on board with daily premium picks. Get on board with long-term subscriptions, 3-day, 7-day, 30-day, 1 year, all sports, all access passes available as well. So check it out, wizardsportspicks.com. Also check out patreon.com/iceguys. Just $10 per month. Goalie charts, totals charts, daily betting card, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. Toward the latter part of January, we have not one, but 2 Patreon exclusive live betcasts coming your way. We can't wait for that. So make sure you get on board if you haven't already. Your membership goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping it going long term. So check it out, $10 per month, patreon.com/iceguys.
And also check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com, for the next 6 days. You can save 20% off everything in the store right now. Just go to iceguys.myspreadshop.com, hit on the redeem button at the homepage, add all your items to your cart. 20% will be taken out at checkout. It's for an entire week, 20% off. Take advantage of this right now at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
Royal Cannabis, where the kings and queens shop.
Thanks to all our sponsors, including Royal Cannabis. Check them out, royalcannabisshop.com. 20% off with promo code IceGuys. All right, bargain bin special of the night for this Tuesday. Lots on the docket for potential spots. Alex, we'll start with you. What do you like for bargain bin special of the night?
Yeah, I've got a pair of them for bargain bin special, and each game will be on TNT. We'll start with the early one. You got Detroit going up against Boston, and we mentioned it, Morgan Geekie. He's a new dad, and he's been a guy who's gotten on the score sheet first for Boston quite a bit. So we'll go with Morgan Geekie, first home goal scorer. You get that at plus 600 over at FanDuel. So I will have a little piece of first goal of the game as well, but for bargain bin purposes, we're going with first home goal scorer for Morgan Geekie, plus 600. That's bargain bin special number one. The second one comes from that late TNT game, Dallas taking on Anaheim, and we're going with Miro Heiskanen, guy we've cashed in with multiple times in this segment. You can get him best price available, plus 575 over at BetMGM, anytime goal scorer. So Miro Heiskanen is the second bargain bin special tonight, plus 575, anytime goal scorer.
All right, great stuff. Matt, bargain bin special of the night.
I'm also going to be in that later TNT game, but I'm going to go with Sam Steele, plus 525, I think. He was drafted by the Ducks. He's, chipping in, but he's also been a little snake bitten. I mean, he hit the post last night on the empty net, but he is playing a lot of shifts with Wyatt Johnson and Mikko Rantanen. And any, decent player has a chance to score playing with those guys. And Sam Steele is actually a phenomenal goal scorer, point scorer through juniors, and then, has kind of had to find a role in the NHL, but he can kind of play up and down the lineup. But yeah, you always want to play well against a team that drafted you, maybe didn't give you enough time, got rid of you too early, things like that. Probably has a little bit of a taste in his mouth. So give me Sam Steele anytime goal tonight for the Dallas Stars, plus 525.
Good stuff there. All right, I like it. Sam Steele's on my player prop, goal prop card here tonight. Not my bargain bin special, though, but I do have two bargain bin specials. The first one, we're going to go to Montreal, Washington. We're going to ride the hot hand that is Ethan Frank for the Washington Capitals, plus 425 at BetMGM. He has scored in back-to-back games for the Capitals, plus 425. Ethan Frank, Washington, for my first bargain bin special. My second one comes from the Islanders-Jets game. He won it for the Islanders in Minnesota, and he has scored in 3 straight games for the Islanders. Simon Holmstrom for the New York Islanders, plus 400. Great price on that, plus 400 for Simon Holmstrom of the Islanders. 3 straight games with a goal. So Ethan Frank, Washington, plus 425, and Simon Holmstrom for the New York Islanders, plus 400 for my bargain bin specials for this Tuesday night. All right, best bets. Alex, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Yeah, all three of us like this play. And like I said, it's a good spot when you have a new coach coming in. You expect to see some energy, some enthusiasm early. So give us the Columbus Blue Jackets. First goal of first period, plus 115, the price available at FanDuel. That'll be my best bet for tonight.
All right. That's on my card as well. Columbus first goal, first period for Alex B. Smith with best bet for this Tuesday. Matty Rob, what do you got for best bet?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the first period over in the Vancouver-Ottawa game. I mentioned it earlier. Ottawa on a 9-1 run. Vancouver hit another first period over last night in their game against Montreal, putting them at 7-3 over their last 10. So two teams that are hot to overs, especially the Ottawa Senators. They'll be fresh. They'll be at home. Just need 2 goals in the first. That'll be my best bet for tonight.
All right, great stuff. Best bet. Side came through for me last night, courtesy of the Dallas Stars. But I'm going back to totals tonight, and we're going to go to the Dallas Stars again tonight, but total, not side tonight. We're going with Dallas Anaheim over 6.5. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. 11-1 over run for Anaheim. 8 straight overs for Anaheim. 2-0 to the over in the head-to-head this season between the Stars and the Ducks. I see more of the same tonight. Dallas Anaheim over 6.5, minus 130 for my best bet. Shout out to everyone in the chat at the like button. We appreciate it very much. A great show, as always. Reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith and Matt Robinson, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we are back tomorrow on Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.